What happens when the most trusted and respected figure in an educational institution turns out to be a monster? This is the story of how a wicked adult took advantage of youth exuberance and turned it into a tragedy that would haunt the small town of Arcane Falls. In the heart of this small, close-knit, idyllic town, where everyone was in each other's personal life and the local diner served as the gathering place for gossip and news, a sense of excitement and optimism filled the air. It was a new academic year, and with it came a fresh face to lead the town's beloved high school. The arrival of the new principal, Kendrick Owens, a young and charming man of 40 years, was met with great enthusiasm from students, teachers, and parents alike. The high school, a staple of the community, stood tall and proud, its brick facade bearing witness to generations of students who had walked its halls. The school's reputation for excellence was well known, and the townspeople took great pride in its accomplishments. As the new principal took the reins, expectations were high that he would continue the school's tradition of excellence. The principal, with his chiseled features and disarming smile, seemed to embody the very qualities that the town had been searching for in a leader. His reputation as a brilliant educator had preceded him, with whispers of his innovative teaching methods and ability to connect with even the most challenging students. With his impressive credentials and affable demeanor, the new principal seemed like the perfect fit for the small town's high school. What the people of the community did not know is that behind the charming smile and polished exterior lay a dark and disturbing secret. A secret that had been hidden for years, carefully concealed behind a mask of innocence and respectability. Kendrick Owens was a master manipulator, a chameleon who had honed his skills to blend in seamlessly with his surroundings. He had a disturbing and predatory obsession, a pedophilic tendency that had driven him to prey on vulnerable young students throughout his career, spanning years and multiple schools. He had always been drawn to the young and the innocent, using his position of authority to groom and exploit them. His methods were subtle and insidious, often using charm and flattery to win the trust of his victims. He would shower them with attention and praise, making them feel special and valued till he got what he wanted. Despite his sinister tendencies, Kendrick had managed to maintain a facade of innocence and respectability. His charm and charisma had won over colleagues and parents alike, who saw him as a role model and a pillar of the community. As Kendrick settled into his new role as principal in this new town, he was confident that his dark secret would remain hidden. He had always been careful to cover his tracks, and he was convinced that he had gotten away with his crimes. But little did he know, his latest obsession would prove to be his downfall. Becky Brooks, the beautiful and popular student, had caught his eye, and he would stop at nothing to make her his next victim. Becky Brooks was the undisputed queen bee of the high school. She came from a middle-class family and had lovely parents. However, she was the girl everyone wanted to be friends with, the one who always seemed to be at the center of attention. With her long hair and bright smile, Becky was the epitome of popularity. However, Becky was an average student at best, often relying on her charm and charisma to get by rather than actual academic effort. Becky's sense of entitlement was palpable. She expected everyone to cater to her needs, and she would often become upset or angry if things didn't go her way. Despite this, her peers adored her, drawn in by her magnetic personality and her ability to make them feel seen and heard. Becky was a master of manipulation, using her charm and beauty to get what she wanted from her classmates. Becky's relationships with her peers were complex and multifaceted. On the surface, she appeared to be friends with everyone, always laughing and joking with her classmates. But beneath the surface, Becky was fiercely competitive, always seeking to one-up her peers and solidify her position as the most popular girl in school. Her two best friends were Blair and James, and these two loved her to the point of veneration. Becky's desire for admiration was insatiable. She needed to be the center of attention at all times, and she would do whatever it took to stay there. This desire for admiration made her vulnerable to Kendrick's manipulation, and she would eventually find herself drawn into his web of deceit. Kendrick Owens began his subtle manipulation of Becky Brooks in the most innocent and subtle manner, so subtle and innocent that nobody even suspected a thing. He would often find excuses to speak with her, praising her academic efforts or complimenting her on her extracurricular activities. Becky, already accustomed to admiration, lapped up Kendrick's attention, unaware of the sinister intentions lurking beneath his charming facade. As their interactions increased, Kendrick started sharing confidential information with Becky, pulling her into a web of secrecy. He would reveal sensitive details about her classmates, often presenting them as concerns or confidences. He would tell her about the teachers that would soon be fired and those that were about to leave for greener pastures. Becky felt special and trusted, and she always felt superior whenever she told her two best friends these information in confidence, as they were always in awe of how she got to know about such information, making them adore her even more. Kendrick cleverly used this tactic to create a sense of intimacy and exclusivity, slowly eroding Becky's boundaries and gaining her trust. Becky, enthralled by Kendrick's attention and the sense of importance he bestowed upon her, began to confide in him, sharing her own secrets and insecurities. Kendrick listened attentively, using her vulnerabilities to further manipulate her. He would offer guidance and support, often using his position of authority to influence her decisions and shape her opinions. As their relationship deepened, Kendrick's behavior became increasingly inappropriate. He would find excuses to touch Becky, brushing against her in the hallway or placing a hand on her shoulder while talking to her. Becky felt on top of the world because she knew that nearly all the girls in school had a crush on him, and for him to have chosen her, she felt extra special than she always did, so much that she didn't recognize the warning signs. And when he eventually made sexual advances towards her, she didn't say no because she felt totally safe and secure with him, and also a sexual relationship from a young and handsome principal like him made her feel more mature and better than her peers. However, one constant thing he kept asking her was that hope neither one of her two best friends or anyone at school knew about their relationship, and she would always reassure him that no one knew. And so they went on dates, private picnics in secluded fields for secrecy, and so on. They even had a mountain cliff that was their favorite spot to hang out. Everything was going on smoothly for about a year, until one day, she missed her period. She bought a pregnancy test and she realized that she was pregnant. On their next date, she told the principal and he told her to abort it. She got scared and told him that she couldn't do that as she might die. And besides, hadn't he told her he loved her and would do anything for her? The principal listened to her and he reassured her, but what she didn't know was that he was already planning her death. He told her to let them take a walk to their favorite spot, a mountain cliff, to clear their head. Innocently, she followed him, and when they got there he asked for her phone so that they could take a picture together. But before that he asked her again if she had told anyone about them, and she said no. Immediately she said so. He pushed her off the cliff and turned his back, leaving her to die. But what he didn't know was that Becky had always told her best friend, Blair, about the whole relationship, and because of how thrilled they both were about the concept of being in a relationship with a mature, successful and handsome man, they had both kept it a secret. The friend knows everything, even about their date that night. And she was expecting Becky to call her later that evening and give her the details of how it all went down, but she kept on waiting and waiting for a phone call that would never come. As the days passed, Becky's disappearance sparked widespread concern and panic. Her parents, frantic with worrying, reported her missing to the authorities. The police launched an investigation, scouring the school and surrounding areas for any signs of Becky. Detectives began questioning students and faculty members, searching for anyone who may have had contact with Becky before her disappearance. Kendrick Owens, the principal, was among those interviewed. He presented himself as cooperative and concerned without any form of suspicion. However, Blair couldn't take it anymore. She went to Becky's parents and she confessed everything she knew about the relationship and the last date. The parents were so shocked, they went to the police station to report, and when the principal was called for questioning, he denied everything. However, a series of text messages shared between Becky and Blair proved otherwise. The police went to search his apartment and alas, they found Becky's phone there. Going through the phone, they saw all the slutty and inappropriate conversations that the principal and Becky both had. Principal Kendrick Owens could no longer hide. He had no choice but to confess about how he killed her when she refused to abort the pregnancy. However, things got worse for him when both young girls and boys from the previous schools he had taught in started coming forward to speak on how he had molested them. The death of Becky Brooks had given them courage, and they knew he couldn't hurt them anymore since he was already behind bars, but they didn't want him to go scot-free. As news of Kendrick's arrest spread, the community was shocked and outraged. Parents and students alike struggled to comprehend how a trusted authority figure could commit such heinous acts. The investigation continued, with detectives working to uncover the full extent of Kendrick's crimes and ensure justice for Becky and any other potential victims. With mounting evidence, Principal Kendrick Owens was charged with multiple counts of exploitation, manipulation, abuse of power, and murder. The day Kendrick Owens appeared in court was a momentous occasion, marking a significant milestone in the pursuit of justice for Becky Brooks and her family. The courtroom was packed with community members, parents, and students, all eager to see Owens held accountable for his heinous actions. As Owens was led into the courtroom, his eyes scanned the room, searching for familiar faces. But instead of finding support, he was met with stern expressions and accusing glares. The air was thick with tension as the judge entered and the proceedings began. The prosecution presented a damning case, laying out the evidence of Owens' exploitation and manipulation of Becky. They highlighted the power imbalance between Owens, a trusted authority figure, and Becky, a vulnerable student. The prosecution argued that Owens' actions were not only reprehensible but also a gross abuse of trust. Owens' defense team attempted to downplay the severity of his actions, claiming that he had been a dedicated educator and that his mistakes were a result of a momentary lapse in judgment. However, their arguments rang hollow in the face of overwhelming evidence. After deliberating, the judge delivered a scathing verdict, finding Owens guilty on all counts. The courtroom erupted in a mixture of emotions, with some people cheering and others crying. The judge then proceeded to sentencing, handing Owens a stiff punishment. He was sentenced to life in prison, without the possibility of parole. As Owens was led away in handcuffs, the courtroom breathed a collective sigh of relief. Justice had been served, and a dangerous predator had been taken off the streets. Becky Brooks' parents felt a little at ease knowing that their daughter's murderer had gotten what he deserved. However, the brutal death of their daughter will forever haunt both them and the community at large. What lessons do you think society can learn from this case? Share your thoughts below. If you found this story compelling, please consider sharing it to spread awareness. Like this video, subscribe to uncover more true crime stories where deception and truth collide. Click here to watch another chilling case in our series.